I'm Senator Al Franken from Minnesota, and thank you for joining us here today. Right now, not all LGBT kids are getting a fair shake at a good public school education, and that's because most LGBT kids get bullied at school. They're 2 to 3 times more likely than straight kids to get bullied. 9 in 10 say that they've been bullied or harassed. Almost 2/3 said they don't feel safe at school. This leads LGBT youth to be more likely to skip school, to have academic problems, to eventually drop out of school, and in some heartbreaking cases, as you'll hear from 2 courageous mothers today, these kids do the unthinkable and tragically take their own lives. We're failing our kids by sending them to schools where they don't feel safe. Everyone agrees that this is an unacceptable situation, but that's not enough. We need to do something about it. We need to fix it. And that's why I sponsored the Student Non-Discrimination Act in the Senate. I want to thank Representative Polis for doing that in the House. This bill would give LGBT kids the same civil rights protections against bullying and harassment that currently apply to students on the basis of race and gender and religion and disability and country of national origin. And passing it could literally save lives. That's why I'm working to get the Student Non-Discrimination Act passed as part of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act reauthorization. It's not going to be an easy lift. You need to make us do this. Make us do it. We need everyone's help to get the message out that this is a bill that we've got to pass next year. We can't afford to let these kids down. Let me say, thank Representative Sanchez and Senator Casey for their bill. I think these bills dovetail very, very well. Because really, what you need to do in a school, and at the earliest grades, before pre-kindergarten, is create schools where everyone is welcome, where everyone feels part of the community, creating ethos in your school. So while Student Non-Discrimination Act brings the kind of protections by law to LGBT kids that other kids enjoy, Senator Casey and Representative Sanchez's bill really speaks to what our schools should be, what kind of environments our schools should have. As I said, we can't afford to let our kids down, and no one can speak to that better than, unfortunately, than Tammy Albert from Anoka, Minnesota. And Tammy, thank you for being here and for your courage.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Senator Franken. I am Tammy Albert from Fridley, Minnesota, which is just outside Minneapolis. I live there with my husband, Sean, and I am the mother of 3 boys. Anthony, who was 8 years old, my oldest, Andrew, who was 18, and Justin, who was 15, when I lost him a few weeks ago. Justin was a very kind and bashful boy who always had a smile on his face. He had many friends, each of whom was different. Different races and religions, different body types and abilities. And Justin too was different. He was one of the few openly gay students at Anoka High School. The very things that made Justin different, his kindness, his friendship, and his acceptance of everyone, including himself, also made him an easy target for bullies. The ideals that we uphold as Americans, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, are not the ideals currently upheld in our schools. The culture of bullying in schools is pervasive, and the horrific stories we have heard about them from across the country reflect on this school bullying culture and how it can lead to tragedy. Soon after Justin took his life, his friends began to tell me what school was like for Justin, and I had absolutely no idea. My husband and I thought he had the perfect life, full of friends, full of music. He played the cello and wrote his own songs, and he was quite good at it. When he played his music, he was so happy and full of life. But Justin was being persistently bullied in school. When I learned about the bullying, I was shocked and deeply upset. Justin never talked to me or my husband about it. And though I will never know what led my son to take his life, I now know that he was suffering terribly in isolation because of the cruelty he faced when he walked into school every day. As I learned more about Justin's experience, I also learned more about the school's policy on bullying and harassment. The Anoka-Hennepin District had an anti-bullying policy, but it was a generic no-bullying policy. Therefore, there were no specific guidelines to define exactly what bullying is and define exactly what kind of behavior is unacceptable. They also have a policy that prohibits classroom discussion on any matters related to sexual orientation. Unfortunately, in our society today, many do not recognize anti-gay bullying as unacceptable. I know that oftentimes homophobic bullying happens in the presence of teachers and school staff, and there is no intervention. And not doing anything to protect a child that is being targeted sends a clear message that this behavior is acceptable. And the fact that these topics cannot be discussed in the classroom further clouds the issue, which is exactly why we need to clearly define bullying in our policies and include protections for those who may be more vulnerable, and perhaps more importantly, provide teachers and adults in the school with very real guidelines about when and how to intervene when bullying of all kinds happens in their classrooms and hallways. In August, just a few weeks after Justin died, I testified before the Anoka-Hennepin School Board and pleaded for them to take action to improve the culture of bullying in our schools. I made it my goal to change the policy to ensure that all of our students are equally protected, so that all of our students can go to school and feel safe and feel free to learn. Thankfully, last month, the school board decided to amend its anti-bullying policy to include enumeration. So not only does it say that all bullying is unacceptable, it also specifically states that bullying on the basis of particular characteristics is unacceptable. Characteristics like race, religion, sex, national origin, sexual orientation, and gender identity. This is a major step forward for schools in Anoka-Hennepin, and I hope that students who are being bullied based on their sexual orientation, like my Justin, can now have the support they need by the adults that we entrust the care of our children to. Too often, this kind of bullying gets swept under the rug, and the sexual orientation policy currently in place only serves to perpetuate the feelings of isolation that many lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender students already feel. And this is why I'm here today. Despite a lot of differing opinions from various groups, we were able to pass a comprehensive anti-bullying policy in my school district. But we have more work to do, as I found out this morning from a teacher in the school district, from the GSA last evening, that even after these changes have taken place, that when asked if things were better, the same, or worse, 23 out of 25 students said it was worse in front of teachers. Teachers are still not saying anything, and they have nothing, that really specifically says that they have to. And also my 8-year-old, I know, came home 2 weeks ago being called gay. He's chubby. He has no idea what gay means. So we need to do the right thing for all of our nation's schools, and to do that we need the federal leadership that you see here today. So I ask all members of Congress to come together on this issue whether Republican, Democratic, or Independent, to do the right thing for our children. Please put aside politics and personal beliefs and implement the policies that we know will help our schools be safe and affirming learning environments for all students. Whether they are straight or gay, they deserve the right to an education and the right to survive. Thank you.